The Virtual Grip Network and the Bootleg Racing League welcome you to the Grand National Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen as we head out west to Irwindale Speedway to go racing for 100 laps at an outside groove track. This half-mile facility here in California. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside me move tonight is Marty Sakawa with our producer Daniel Handover as we get ready to see which drivers can conquer the high side in the second to last race in this car type, in this series, and its history, Marty.
Justin, good evening. A lot of finals indeed for this season, but I think the big story we look at coming on in is the point standings between Matthew Thunhorst and J.R. Shepard. 2 races prior entering last week at Martinsville, Thunhorst racked up 2 wins. J.R. Shepard finished 4th in both of those races. Last week when we were at the paperclip, guess what? Roles reversed. J.R. Shepard won, Matthew Thunhorst 4th. The points lead down to 4 at the moment. And now the thing is that's unique. We are at what you could call dirt tracking on pavement on the outside groove. It'll be interesting to see who could get it to victory lane tonight and who could possibly be oh so close to getting the championship.
As talked about that respective championship standing separated by just 4 points currently, Matthew Thunhorst has that advantage over J.R. Shepard, 354, J.R. Shepard's 350. Of note, it's going to be very difficult when it comes to anyone else to find a way to get in mathematically. In fact, it's just Thunhorst and Shepard who have a true shot, Marty, in this one.
Absolutely, and they've been the ones that have been, without question, the dominant ones all season. They've pretty much won every race of the season, if I recall correctly. Not even anyone else has 1 win on the year. They've all finished inside the top 5 in all the races this season. The big difference from last season is that, well, we don't know if what's going to happen until next week, but the big difference from last season at the moment is that one driver did not race full time, and that was Matthew Thunhorst. He could not make the last race of the season. But hopefully, I think as of right now, we expect him next week for the championship race at New Smyrna.
It's going to be intriguing how things play out here. Keep in mind the speed. See J.R. Shepard at the top of the board. An 18.477 is leading the practice session. Justin Moore and James Lowe. Matthew Thunhorst, who won in the Door Mods race. All by Matthew Thunhorst, Jason Mender rounding out the top 5 in those practice charts. About a 1/10.5 separation. It's going to be a tricky race, let's put it that way. And drivers are not usually racing at the circuit. It's not a major track on the rotation usually. It comes up every couple seasons, Marty.
Yeah, absolutely. Normally as well, all the drivers are so used to the low groove on the track. However, though, like we said earlier, everyone taking it to the high side only appears once in a while, and it's always a unique test for the drivers because it's a completely different set of handling. It's tough to enter, and it's tough to exit the quarters. You got to be very careful with that right foot, especially on the exit. And the one that can do it the best can likely go to victory lane.
Drivers are now making their way quickly to the starting grid for tonight's action. And as these drivers circulate on forward, important to worth note that this track can get themselves fairly hot around its respective track because of its size. Right now, the drivers getting themselves ready to go for tonight's action. Ruben Altis is on the pole tonight with the inversion. Austin Belkey's in second with Jason Menta, Matthew Thunhorst rounding out the top 4. Kenny Kibbe and Adam Shane round out the top 6 in the standings tonight, with J.R. Shepard and James Lowe rounding out the top 8. Then it's Justin Morton and Todd Liston who round out the top 10. They are the first 2 drivers out of those inversion spots as a result of some of the attrition last time out, Marty.
Absolutely, they can always be key. Row number 6, Joe Stigala and Ryan Seneca. Row number 7, Kurt Smith and Bruce Pearson. Row 8, Tim Shinosky, Jeffrey Harden. And in row 9, Mike Holloway and Chris Wolfson with his first start on the season. Interesting to know here, Justin. Adam Shane, we've been noticing that he's having a little bit of internet issues, so keep that in mind tonight as he blanks. He's currently connected, but currently not in the session, so if he comes in before the green flag, he'll have to wait 5 seconds.
As a matter of fact, he did not make it to the starting grid as a result of the technical issue reported, so he will have to start from the pit lane at best. If not, we'll lose some time. Real quickly here, your keys to victory here for this racetrack tonight, knowing how quick the pace can be, but also how tricky this track can be, especially under the lights.
Well, this is a track that I believe, if I recall correctly, has some progressive banking, so you got to be really careful, especially at trying to come down on the track, like try and diamond the corner. I don't think we're going to see a lot of drivers do that. They're going to hold their line likely on the outside line. Number 2, if you're Matthew Thunhorst, be patient about getting to the front so you can save your tires, because he's in 4th position tonight in the lineup. Could get oh so closer to the lead. It'd be tougher for Shepard to get up to 2nd spot or the front. But I'm ready to go green, Justin. What about you?
It's going to be an intriguing run, to say the very least. With 100 laps up on the board, no tire changes, one fast repair. We're underway from Irwindale.
Nice start from Maltese. Everyone trying to find that outside line as soon as possible. Thunhorst up to 3rd spot. Menda did not get the jump, but Belkey looking top shelf for the lead. He gets the wall, though.
Belkey just avoiding significant damage, though, has the run, and that's going to be critical all night long. Trying to keep that outside line from your competitors to be able to get the power right there to be able to take the lead like that.
Absolutely, that's the horsepower, that's the momentum of Irwindale Speedway. This track as a whole has up to 12 degrees of banking in the turns, and drivers want every single part of that 12 degrees tonight. Nobody looking on the bottom except for the first car on the inside line, which is Kenny Kivy, and he's fallen back a couple of spots.
That's in part because he is stuck on the bottom of the racetrack. In fact, everybody but Kenny Kibbe has found a hole to be able to drive up on the top side. Kibbe stuck down low, and at this point, what do you do as a driver knowing you're in a very peculiar situation? You know the bottom's not as quick. You might be chewing up your tires more by trying to round that bottom. What can you do?
Yeah, this is a deep doo-doo zone at the moment. Number 1, he's in a sucker hole because of where the momentum is on the outside. Number 2, when you're driving it in that low side, you're pretty much getting a handful. A lot of drivers were taking risks at using that low line, like Justin Morton was at the end of practice. They were having an oh-so-tough line trying to get that bottom to work. The only time they're going to try and get the low line to work, I would believe, in my opinion, is for like last lap situations.
I've seen sliders work a little bit when it comes to this racetrack. You mentioned the dirt track comparison, where I've seen drivers go from the apron in turn 3 to the yellow line all the way up towards the middle top groove, but that's not an easy line to work. And here's the thing, this is not, say, a super late model where you normally can make that stick. With this track, you need that preferred groove. James Lowe nearly loops it up on the top line. That boxes J.R. Shepard in.
Yeah, that got very close there. Not what he wanted to see, especially if you're J.R. Shepard. But going back to your point, absolutely. The super late models could kind of do that. Yellow, Kurt Smith.
First caution of the night already in this one, as Kurt Smith has already made his way to the pit lane in his Mark Martin-themed paint scheme. So under yellow already, and to put it simply, Kurt Smith looped it coming off the corner, then decided to tow the machine and park the machine for the night after triggering the first caution. Here's a look at the replay. Speaks for itself. No major pressure from behind, just loops it.
It's like the rear end just got lighter. He hit like maybe a bump or something in the center of 3 and 4, which I don't think is the case. But he just lost it all by himself. You know, I like to think of Irwindale as a short track the drivers love to hate, but the fans love it all.
Here's a look on board.
You see, he was trying to turn it to the right. There is a lot of, I guess you could say, a lot of oversteer in the center of 3 and 4 for Kurt Smith. I don't know if he was battling issues with it all around the track. Again, fixed setups for all these drivers, keep in mind. So I don't know if it was just too much for him to handle, but I think after that yellow, we know the answer to that question.
And all of that was while it was about a lane and a half, 2 lanes off the wall. It's worth noting he kept the power into it the whole entire corner. Respect to that spin. Austin Belkey, meanwhile, leads. 90 laps to go. Lucky Dog goes to Adam Shane. He is 3 laps down. He'll need a few cautions to be able to make up for his technical issue earlier. The interesting thing is going to be, Marty, how will the restarts fare out? Because normal circumstances, leader starts inside. As you know, this track is not good on the inside if you don't get clear.
Absolutely. If you're the leader, you want to fire on the inside line as soon as possible, way before the green flag. The main goal is to try and, of course, this is the main goal of all restarts in general, to try and catch your opponent next to you sleeping on the track. Then this way, because you can change lanes here in this series before crossing the start-finish line, you want to get up to that outside line instantly. You do not want to be a guy on the inside. And we learned that at the start of the race. Jason Mender was the first car in that inside line, and guess what? He fell a couple of spots back. I think he started in third, and he lost his spot. He's back in fourth.
Kenny Kibbe actually kept his starting position, despite being stuck on the inside that entire run, in part because of the checkup situation with James Lowe. So now it's the matter of how some of the drivers fare out. J.R. Shepard, of note, has not gotten anywhere in this pack. He is still in the 8th position. On the right side, he's on the top. Problem is, he hasn't been able to make a pass.
Yeah, Shepard, I think at this moment, he's just being patient, trying to save his tires. Once we get into the second half, it'll be time for him to go to work. I think in that second half, you'll see a bunch of where the yellows will take place as lights are off the pace car, coming green this time by. Rack 'em, stack 'em.
Of note, Jason Mendes, second car outside. He's having technical issues. That could become a factor here on the restart. Some of the drivers have had issues with checkups behind the 45. We'll see if this hampers here. Already near 3 wide for the restart. Everybody scatters, back off, and away we go. And that did not look clean from the launch.
I would not be a fan of that situation if I were the opponents of Ruben Altis. And guess what? Mendes making him pay for it all the way back to fourth. Look at Kibbe. Sighted it in on the bottom, 3 wide. Trying to rock the low line. Can he get it to work? It cost him a couple of spots. Morton gets by, and he's up to fourth. What a start for the 9 car. Up 5 positions from an invert spot. Actually behind an invert spot.
Able to take advantage of the track position in the lane progression. J.R. Shepard able to gain a few spots as well as a result of some of the shuffling. Ruben Altis, who had that middle of the racetrack to bottom of the track line chosen, he's already outside of top 10 land this time around in turns 1 and 2. How mightily quick tides can change here at this track. Speaking of the tides, Matthew Thunhorst looks to change the tides for the race lead. He's on with the back bumper of Austin Belkey just up the track for the grouping third on back.
Absolutely. Thunhorst being really patient at the moment as well, and I think that's what he has learned off of the first 10 laps that J.R. Shepard had to deal with early on. You know, Irwindale Speedway is pretty much known as the super speedway of half-mile tracks. However, though, you could think of this as a track that likes to fake you out mentally. You see that track that looks like there's 3 grooves here, but guess what? There's only 1 groove, and that's the outside line, and that's why this track can take a toll on you mentally.
That's why the invert for a track like this was expected to be a major factor, and you're seeing the results of that already. Of note, Jason Mender, you see from the helicopter cam, struggling it seems corner exit in particular. Look at that slide right there. Every time he slides up towards that wall, has to check up out of the gas.
Got the wall.
Got it with the right rear corner, yes.
Yeah, I was just right on board with them. And, you know, he's having a little bit of a tough time with the exits. Maybe a little bit too much right foot early on because I see him trying to oversteer to the right just a little bit. But better exit of turn 2 that time compared to last time by. But everyone trying to be careful. This race kind of reminds me of if you're watching like a truck race on a dirt track like when they were at Eldora back in 2019. Only 1 groove pretty much, and that was the low side. They'll fan out on the restarts, but everyone will start to know that high groove will be the place to be.
And that's going to be the tough thing for drivers, trying to figure out how they can get this to work. I've seen the method of trying to outbrake somebody, get to their quarter panel, and peel them off the wall. Not necessarily the run you can get here tonight, unless you hit it hard in the gas on center, hope you don't stuff in the wall, and then make it stick out there. It might take a slide job. Yes, that type of term, to be able to make that work.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the examples I go back to, you got to go in real life. I think it was when Irwindale had the Toyota All-Star Showdown, pretty much a battle of the home track drivers, whether it be K&N East, West, late models, home track drivers, whatever it was. And we saw Joey Logano try and pull a bold slide job move, but instead it turned into an intentional wreck on, I think it was Peyton Sellers. And the driver who was in third, I think that driver that night was Matt Kobaluk, took home the win in that All-Star Showdown.
Funnily enough, Gargamel actually won 2 times in that event in the K&M Pro side, but the caution is out as Ryan Seneca down the back straightaway having some issues. Second caution of the night, and once again, it looks like some spins in 1 and 2. This time with some help, though.
Yep, absolutely. As you take a look at the replay here in just a moment, there was a little bit of left rear quarter panel contact from the 44 of Jeffrey Harden. It was just really hard racing. They were just leaning on each other, and then Harden just get a little bit wide on the exit of 2.
Spatial awareness also critical there. You had, on top of things, Todd Liston up in the wall trying to find a way to the outside with Seneca about a full lane off the wall at the same time.
Yeah, I tell you, Liston got really lucky in missing that accident, because that was a 3-car wreck that was waiting to happen. As you ride on board here with Liston, watch how close this gets. He got the wall on the exit of 2 right there. However, though, I think he was probably happy he got the wall on the exit of 2 because it really slowed down the momentum, along with using the brake to try and miss the wreck. That puts Liston up to 11th.
Outside of a couple of scuffs, no major damage visually, at least, for Todd Liston. Remember, this is a new damage model vehicle that was tinkered with during the new iRacing build that impacted some of the things such as the suspension damage as well as potential readings from the new damage model. Now let's talk a bit about, as we were talking about, coming away with a couple victories in 2008 and 2009 in the K&M Pro Series for the Toyota All-Star Showdown. Joey Logano actually won that race twice in 07 and 2010. David Gilliland, before his rise to stardom in 2005, won it. You also, at the same time, compare that to the super late model side of the card. Drivers like Greg Pursley, came away with victories. Late models, the pro late model stock, I should say, had drivers like Sean Woodside take victory. In fact, the 2008 running, due to time constraints, was held to 55 laps. It's really an intriguing historical track, I will say, that was able to rally back after coming back from a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, funnily enough, in 2012.
Yeah, they got really lucky that 1 year in that situation. It's been renamed a couple of different tracks, you know. I think when it got bought out, it was, I think, the Irwindale Speedway and Event Center.
Yes, and it still is today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's where I think we're getting ready to go back to the green flag, and we are.
Yeah. This track also still very popular when it comes to holding races. It was announced that the All-Star Showdown was planning to return prior to the situation with 2020 being 2020. They took the opportunity to actually found their own broadcast network in that year before the return to fans. 71 to go as we're ready to return to green. Belkey, the good launch. 2x2 off the corner. Thunhorst and Morden clear for second and third. And the 45 Amenda stuck on the bottom.
The restart for Belkey, absolutely what I've been expecting the entire night, firing as early as you can. Once that pace car makes the left-hand turn into pit road, everybody working on the top shelf where Mama hides the cookies. Amenda, nobody wants to put him up in the top. Nobody wants to give him some room. And I feel bad for that Davey Ellison scheme.
And to just no place to go, having to slow roll it on the bottom of the racetrack. The next hole for him to jump up in is all the way back outside the top 10 realistically, or it can force one in front of Lowe. My goodness, Lowe gave him a break.
Nah, he had a lot of space there. If you're a driver, that's plenty of space for Jason Menden to get there. I wouldn't be mad if I were James Lowe. He just has the spot, just give it to him. It's not worth it to try and put a bumper on him and try and wreck it at the moment. But everyone's staying single file. Thunhurst trying to close in. Shepard still in 5th. Update on the points. This would be a 7-point lead entering New Smyrna next week.
Shepard needs to find spots. You look towards the back grouping, and Todd Liston's looping it. Second corner in a row. Todd Liston's gotten loose running the bottom. Was able to save it, though. Still side by side just up the road where he was at. Holloway and Pearson. Holloway with the run, though, on the outside. Makes it easy.
Holloway off to a good start. Started from 17th. Currently running in P12. But yeah, Liston's, again, we've been talking about him a lot all season, whether it be from spins or tire situations or turning the wheel 45 degrees. Been a tough year for Listen. Hopefully he has a lot of improvement with the super late models next season.
That's the big thing to mention. These drivers turning over to that type of car chassis for next campaign in particular for its main run. It's going to be intriguing how the drivers fare out in that one with this short track theme circuit after more than 2 years of history with this Chevrolet National Impala in sim. Of note, as you look at the battle towards the front, as most of the drivers are up to the wall still, J.R. Shepherd has been experimenting a bit, Marty, you've noticed. Trying to bottom a couple times. It hasn't worked, though.
Yeah, you know, what he's doing there is because when he knows he has enough of a gap behind him and maybe even in front of him, he's trying the lower groove out to see if he can gain some space a little bit towards Kenny Kibbe. I don't know if he's trying to scrub some of the marbles off on the low side because everyone is going up on the wall, pretty much riding the wall at the moment. But I don't think he'll be testing it out for a while because Jason Menda has been closing in. Actually, excuse me. Yes, he is closed in by about 500s, and he looked down there on Kibbe, but nothing really he could do, just testing it out. Not really being too aggressive as Kibbe just scrapes the wall entering 3.
Main thing I keep on thinking about here is with everyone having to run this top line and how close they have to get to the wall on entry before they essentially go for the double apex down towards lane down or so around that middle of the apex, then going back up to the wall for the exit. If anyone overburns their tires or pushes too hard here, they're going to be paying the price in about 20 laps and maybe knocking the wall down here.
Absolutely, and taking a look at some of these cars, I haven't really been watching them up close. I've been watching them from a wide angle. That front valence is definitely starting to drag on these cars a little bit. As Kibbe, by the way, didn't see the sparks fly, actually scraped the wall there, just off of entering turn 3 for a brief moment. And I don't know if Shepherd's trying to take a big risk or if he just wants to stay behind him with the tires he's trying to save at the moment. And I know Matthew Thunders is doing the same thing when it comes to the tires.
And that's a concern too. If you haven't tested out the setup and made the tweaks you can make to a fixed setup, in particular steering offset, as well as steering ratio, but the main thing, brake bias.
Yes.
That's going to be critical. We talked about this at Martinsville. You don't get the right brake bias number in it, it can cause the valence to smash into the ground.
Man, Shepherd barely caught the wall there. Taking some big risk at the moment, seeing how much he can get of that 12 degrees of banking on the exit. Closed in on Kibbe, but I got oh so close. But going back to your point on the brake bias, you're absolutely correct. I don't know if drivers want to have a lower brake bias or a higher one. I'm not a big setup guy in particular. I'm not really the best at making setups. In fact, I suck at them. But that is a big key coming in for the short track races. And you don't want to be adjusting them. Woo! Shepherd dirt tracked it in 2.
All the drivers starting to get a little bit loosey-goosey here. Line for line, right there in particular, see another tiny bit of a drift from J.R. Shepherd. Already quickly approaching halfway, though. The fall-off total already half a second for the lead pack. Pack 2, the fall-off is somewhere around 7/10. James Lowe on back are struggling with the same type of a groove. Here's Shepherd trying a different line. Again, it's just not working, trying to get a little bit lower below that 12-degree portion of the progressive banking.
I think at the same time, what I'm thinking is J.R. Shepherd, I do not want to be down 7 points entering New Smyrna next week, as I think drivers scraped the wall ahead of him. Caution, Todd Liston.
Caution is back out as Todd Liston in his adventure brings out the caution, but the adventure had a bit of a helping hand in Chris Wolfson, who helped save his car from fully going around. So we're under caution, and most of the field will now group back together. Liston was running around the back of the grouping, struggling with the grip on his 87.
Yeah, I think he was in 15th, if not 14th at the time. He was in 15th. And this was pretty much a situation that was a lot similar to the Kurt Smith caution, where he pretty much just lost it in the center of the corner and was about to go around. But then Chris Wolfson just gave him a little bit of a love tap and kept the car straight. Man, I tell you, Chris Wolfson should get the gold heart of the day.
Yeah, just lost it. And
saving drivers, pass it on.
Still gets damage.
Yeah, that's true.
But if he wasn't there, he might have spun down the racetrack.
Yeah.
You see how adventurous Liston had been getting prior to that, struggling, finding the groove. And now he's elected to take the fast repair, and I think because the contact to the left side, have heard that with that suspension in particular, with this new damage model, you hit it a certain way, it can break it underneath the chassis in of itself.
Yes.
That's why maybe it's where he's coming into play, because you can risk a meatball flag if you hit too much into the wall or make contact with the driver too hard. That is something that can factor in, even though it might look visually okay from the outside.
And speaking of the meatball flag, I believe there was a change in the sporting code that meatball flags are considered unsportsmanlike if you keep driving them.
Well, that's a new one too, actually, Marty, because before the call would have been 3 green flag laps to serve it, but here's the thing. You keep on getting caution after caution, you could technically stay out until you get the DQ and pick up points off those who can't make it and had to tow with the meatball flag.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know racing on the dirt tracks, you can keep racing with the meatball flag however you want, so that's something that really you don't want to see if you're like the dirt track drivers that suffer damage on like a big block modifieds or so, and you can still drive it for sure. It's still fast, but you still get that meatball flag. 1 lap to green, and we're getting ready to go here now. A couple of things to keep in note. Thunhurst on the outside of Belkey. J.R. Shepherd is on the inside. Watch that closely, Justin.
That's going to be a critical battle when it comes to some points, as well as for the battle for this race lead. Austin Belkey, he's led them all so far, except for one where Ruben Altice snuck in a lead lap early after being the pole sitter. Lost that lead quickly. Green flags back out. Austin Belkey, another good launch. J.R. Shepherd did not get the greatest of launches on the bottom. And to try to keep it to his outside. Fanning out 2 by 2. Shepherd knew he loops it. He finds a hole.
Barely.
Menda barely gave him a break as Menda actually put himself in the wall.
Yeah, Menda's going to be furious at that. He should not have given Shepherd the room. He should have tried and put the bumper on him, in my opinion. But I mean, at the same time, you don't really want to risk doing that considering it's lap 54. Tough break though for the 45. He is currently up to 7th though, so didn't lose too much. So at this point, you could still battle for an inversion spot for next week. Shepherd, by the way, up to 4th.
So Shepherd now has that also important outside groove. That could be critical for him to have a shot at battling with the 8 machine for championship points, to help trim down that gap after the halfway mark already. Meanwhile, the battle around the inversion spot is getting busy. Joe Segala stuck at the bottom with Jeffrey Harden to his outside. You also have Ruben Altice outside the top 10 looking in. Mike Holloway watching as well as Joe Segala just hit the door at Jeffrey Harden. And Segala's still stuck at the bottom, getting squirrely. That can open up the door for this yellow.
Battle for 3rd. Look at this. Kenny Kimmy with a situation. And J.R. Shepherd takes advantage to the inside, and he is up to 3rd spot. You'll take a look at the replay. Kimmy got the wall in 3 and 4. J.R. Shepherd takes advantage of that big time, and now within striking distance of his championship adversary.
He actually got into the wall as far back as the middle of the backstretch, Kenny Kimmy did. That sent him that wide portion. For the race lead, Matthew Thunhorst just fent the bumper to Austin Belkey. He now backs it up once again. Thunhorst wants to go with Shepherd right on behind. He's now starting to push. He doesn't want to be patient anymore. He wants the lead.
It's got to start using their tires here very shortly. Thunhorst knew once Shepherd was in behind, he knew it was time to go to work on Austin Belkey. But everyone's still hugging that high side. But guess what, Justin? We talked about it last week. Dun-dun. Dun-dun.
Dun 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 dun. You can sing that about a few times over, but you never know what's going to happen until the send comes into play and you end up having that orchestra start to go full song, full intensity. With 40 laps to go, Shepherd is trying to find a way to chomp away at the gap. He is, though, mind you, using a lot of the right rear tire doing so, trying to use that half lane lower to find any little bit of grip.
And something we should keep in mind, too, with J.R. Shepherd. How did he win Martinsville last week? I know they're 2 completely different tracks, but how did he win at Martinsville last week? outside, was able to hold it. If he gets side by side with somebody, this is going to help out J.R. Shepherd big time on the outside. So watch him closely, especially maybe, who knows, if he tries to find a lane in the extreme outside, just next to the white wall.
That might be something I could see someone trying at this point if they get the run like we talked about earlier, absolutely. Kibby's trying that right behind Shepherd, just can't get there quite yet. Shepherd is starting to chop away in turns 1 and 2, but is struggling in turns 3 and 4, have noticed, past couple laps. It's worth noting that this is getting very slick for the drivers. The temperature for the track hasn't changed too much, but the rubber buildup, you can tell a little bit with the tinting of the circuit, has been changing a bit with the rubber being laid down a lot on the outside. That will make it a little bit more sticky, but also a little bit more slippy.
Yeah, last lap, I don't know if you saw it closely, but J.R. Shepherd actually left a tire mark thanks to that right rear. Maybe have gone a little bit loose enough to lose some rubber a little bit, so watch that right rear really closely. I know if I'm Shepherd, I'm still focusing my sights on Thunhorst, but you got to be careful because Kivy and Morton are in tow in 4th and 5th.
Trouble up behind them. James Lowe nearly sputtered off turn 2, right in front of the grouping for 10th position you're watching. Lowe is actually now just about in this respective pack, about a quarter of a corner away from them. Altis side by side with Senecar. Senecar nearly spins to the inside, but a save as Wolfson drives on by. So you can see the difference in stability from the front of the field to the back and how the pushing to the limits.
Trouble.
Send Wolfson into the wall. Wolfson hits the backstretch wall. He crashes hard into turn 3. Shane, Pearson, Seneca collected as well. We're under caution.
That's the biggest wreck we've seen, I think, this weekend, folks. Wolfson got... Oh, man, that's a heavy shot. Perhaps the biggest shot we've seen all season. Wait till you see this replay in the big one here. Yep. I was actually also mentioning, too, that Kenny Kibbe had actually rode the wall off of turn number 4, so this yellow catches him a good break.
When you take a look at the replay, you'll see what can happen if you get too high on corner exit. We talked about this. If you push too hard on that right front tire, tighten up that car, make it where it stops cutting, you might get yourself into the wall. Here's the thing. Wolfson got into the wall, couldn't get off of it, kept it full throttle all the way into the track exit, and then collects 3-4 cars.
Adam Shane also involved, last week's runner-up. Seneca also involved. Tough break for Bruce Pearson. Liston, who I think will be done for the day because of that. But a lot of drivers involved will have to use their quick repair. There's the shot to the right front suspension. You hate to see it, Justin.
At that point, you have to consider to back out of the gas to make sure, well, you don't hit the track exit. Unfortunately, that hurts 4 drivers who have had to come in for repairs. Liston has completed his repairs quickly. Wolfson's taken the fast repair. Shane and Seneca are also trying to take service. This is not the easiest track to pit, mind you, because of how quick the pace laps are at just 38 seconds apiece. It's worth noting, one of the last times we were on air, Matthew Thunhorst actually won second split competition in NASCAR Roachbrook Qualifying iRacing Series action prior to last week's round. We didn't get the chance to talk about that one. He was able to win it in a brewing battle with fuel strategy with Joseph, a one-stop strategy at Las Vegas compared to majority of the field taking the 2-stopper. Can Thunhorst find a way to use the outside line from P2 to find a way around Austin Belkey here? Green flags out, back underway. Austin Belkey again clear down the front.
Watch Shepherd closely. He's on the inside line. May try whatever it takes to force his way up to the top, but that's going to be tough. Justin Morton looking for 3rd position. This is the best we've seen somebody, though, on the exit of the low line so far. Can he match it in 3 and 4? And the answer is yes. Shepherd may have found something here, Justin.
I'm looking more so at the checkups. Thunhorst has had to modulate the throttle right behind Belkey. He's stronger corner exit. Shepherd still side by side with each of them now still. That's going to be the trouble spot, though. Thunhorst has nowhere to go. He's boxed in. Shepherd finds a hole right in front of a technical issue driver in Jason Menda and makes it somehow work. Menda nearly feeds him the bumper. Kibbe stuck underneath the first layer of the progressive banking.
So that puts the championship lead up to 6 points for Matthew Thunderhurst as you watch the battle behind him. Lowe nearly spun it in turn number 4. He's in big trouble all the way back to the 11th position, and a car's in the wall. That's Holloway in the 2, and that could put him out in an inversion spot, and it will.
Where did Holloway come from first of all? Second, tough break for Holloway. When
Trouble.
he gets his track position, he can't get there. 3 wide in the back grouping. Here, trouble once again. You see once again these drivers getting very squirrely with either entry to the wall or whether it's corner exit getting loose right now all over the track.
Ryan Seneker, by the way, pounded the wall a lap ago, lost the right front of the car. No caution, though. We stay under the green flag. Racers were not coming.
Oh, James Lowe. Inside wall, James Lowe. No caution, we stay green. He pulls it off the track, and James Lowe and his nightmarish season continues with his part-time run. He's done for the night. 16th best is where he'll run to.
That's a break for James Lowe, like you said. He's been having a lot of dirt tracking issues on the exit of the corner and just pretty much paid the price right there. That was the nail in the coffin and the straw that hit the camel's head. Thunderhurst inside!
Thunderhurst has a run. His first chance for the race lead. Can he make it work?
Oh!
Leaning on Belkey, keeps it off him barely. Here comes Justin Morton to pounce to the outside. 2 by 2, 2 rows deep. Belkey clears Thunderhurst. Thunderhurst now having a fight with Morton instead.
Morton got loose off of turn 2, almost got into Thunderhurst, was oh so close. Thunderhurst nearly hits the wall. Now what do you do if you're J.R. Shepard? He goes to the outside, and Thunderhurst, does he find the gap up front? He tries to force it, and Shepard's in the wall.
Shepard knocks the wall down, but still gets the run off the corner. Can he send it? He's trying to lick the stamp. Trying to make it stick on the bottom. That's not gonna stick fully. That nearly falls off the table completely as Shepard loses ground. He stays in 4th. Under 20 to go. This is going to be difficult.
That would have been a situation where you could have cut the championship deficit down to 3 if he made the pass stick on Matthew Thunderhurst. By the way, Todd Liston has pulled it into the pits. He just had a crash as well on our end.
Todd Liston, he's actually pulled back on said circuit after since then, but he is right now 15th on the circuit, all the way, last car lead lap. Still see the lead grouping still coming towards the final laps of this one. Morton trying to find any way to get around. Shepard struggling now after his attempts. Thunderhurst losing that track position that was so valuable right before that attempt to pass for the race lead. Here's the look from the back bumper of Austin Belkey. And look at the difference on corner exit right there. Morton's able to get into the gas quicker, but Belkey's just able to park it.
If I'm Belkey, I'm not thinking about that rear view mirror until we get to the final 4 or 5 laps or so, because that's when we'll see drivers definitely start to use either the bumpers or pull some slide jobs. That's when you'll see the drivers start to mirror drive here. Thunderhurst looks on the inside. Can't get the exit power like Morton.
Still playing defense. Justin Morton right at the very edge of that valence with his brace. J.R. Shepard trying to run the second portion of the progressive banking, not working either.
He's lost his tires, Justin. I think he's out of this battle for a top 3 unless Thunderhurst has a big mess up. Caution!
Or you get a caution to help. Caution flag is out. We're back under yellow, and this will restack the field. Try and see where the caution flag trigger is here. Of note, Liston pulled down to the pit lane right as the caution came out. Maybe not the greatest of timing, unfortunately for him. But here's the thing, when you have a driver who may be, say, 45 degrees around sideways, that may become a trigger point for the caution flag to wave. I'm wondering if that was the case. We'll see.
I think that was the situation, but with this yellow, it's not what you want if you're Matthew Thunderhurst, because number 1, it racks and stacks the field. Number 2, J.R. Shepard is on the outside for the restart.
See right there, indeed, some spinnies. That's the funny thing. That was a couple laps ago, and the caution only triggered now. I'm surprised.
The Liston situation, that happened about nearly 2 minutes ago. This yellow flag was for Ryan Seneker.
Again.
Yeah, if we get to the replay of Seneker, he lost it all by himself in turn number 4, right in front of Barney. And I think the leaders were just in the path, but there was no choice for the yellow to fly unless it had something to do with Liston in the pits. Yeah, now I'm baffled.
I think it was more so Seneca, or maybe with the closeness of the race leaders. But either way, that is huge for Thunhorst and Shepard now to sort things on out. Worth noting this racetrack, with its prestigious history, but also its location in California, has helped position itself to, in recent times especially, be used for filmings for TV shows and movies. For example, have you watched the show American Auto?
I thought you were about to say American Idol for a moment. I'm not going to lie.
No, American Auto, it is a new show on NBC that is 10 episodes in.
I have not seen it. However, though, I've heard of it and I hear it's really good. Long
story short, this track pretends to be a test track located in the state of Michigan. It actually played the job well. So there is that. But you can tell this track, just a lot of character to it. You know what I mean? In terms of its driving ability, but also with its location, with its drag strip. It just brings that versatility for the local community to race at.
Absolutely. A track that Californians love. Remember, this is a track where Ryan Vargas got his name started.
Cole Custer has raced here in the past. Riley Herbst. He also put Jesse Wuji in that hat a bit. Lawless Allen. Thane Smith had some races here in the past. Ellie Deegan. Once those of note. Green flag is out. 10 laps to go. Best launch for the outside all race. Austin Belkey still able to clear. Thunhorst trying to make the bottom work off the restart. Everybody squirrely for second. Oh boy.
Trying whatever he can get to find a gap. Again, this was not what you want if you're Matthew Thunhorst, to be stuck on that inside line and knowing Shepard's so good up on the top shelf, doing whatever he can do to side draft. And for someone up in the wall, somebody's in the wall, by the way. That's Holloway. We're staying green.
No spins yet. He's now lost the grouping of the pack. Thunhorst tries to run the bottom group still. Nearly gets into the fender of Shepard. Warden now clear for second. Thunhorst not backing down, but Shepard in a great spot as Thunhorst nearly loops it.
Bad exit from Thunhorst. You called it right there. Shepard takes third position. It's now a 3-point lead at the moment. Coming to 7 to go.
It's starting to come apart and about for Thunhorst after his attempt to make the race lead swap about. It's now starting to fall back for him after running second all race long. Now it's the matter of, can Justin Morton do anything to take the race lead away from Austin Belkey, who's led all but 6 laps to go.
It looks like we're going to have our third different winner of this season. Belkey's dominated this race. He's led either 90, he'll lead probably either 99 or 100 of these things if he gets the win. But what do you do here if you're Justin Morton? 5 to go. Yellows will end the race. Morton's going to have to send it here somehow.
And do it in a way that doesn't wreck Austin Belkey or wreck himself. Preferably both. And you can tell with the way he's exiting the corners, Morton's got the pace. He's trying to get the run inside. Not able to get it, though, with 4 to go.
Absolutely. Also, at the same time, I don't want to wreck the championship contenders, because that could be a pivotal championship moment entering next week when you think about it, too. Thunhorst on Shepard for third. Can't find any gap to close in.
Past the point of no return. Any caution from this point on will end the race. See Morton reeling on in. Austin Belkey trying to back up that entry a little bit more to get that arc for this center off. Not able to close up too close enough yet. Each of them even on the timing sheets. 2 laps to go to decide it from California.
It's going to be tough for Morton. Let's check at the start-finish line what the lap times were. 19:15 to a 19:10 for Morton. Better lap. Let's see what happens off of 2. Bad exit. Nearly looped it. Here goes Thunhorst inside for third real quick.
Shepard able to hold him off. Thunhorst holds him. Shepard gets turned.
Oh my goodness.
Caution is out. White flag taken. Austin Belkey wins. But my goodness, the championship just took a turn for the worst. J.R. Shepard has been turned by Matthew Thunhorst off the corner. And what could decide the championship?
That may have just ended the championship hopes for J.R. Shepard right there. Oh my goodness, that is 11 spots he loses. That puts him back, I think, 15 points now. That should do it.
Checker flag, Austin Belkey celebrates the victory now, his first of the campaign, but man, what a time for that. Coming into the final corners, coming to the white flag, trying to defend after a rough corner exit, and it ends up just being mainly Shepard getting loose, it seemed, but also Thunhorse trying to stick the very top of those white dotted hash marks, it seemed, that ends up having the mixture of both of the contact. We'll have to take a look at it to try and get the full context here.
Yeah, let's try and watch that before we go to break, unless Daniel can't load it up. But I think it looked like Thunhorst really came up the track. Should be coming here in just a moment.
Austin Belkey, meanwhile, is looking to celebrate in what could be an emotional one. Let's take a look at this situation. This is entering turn 3. Watch here. This is half speed currently. And you're going to have to keep an eye on Apex in particular, how close they got an entry, but then the Apex is where it goes wrong for Shepard and his season.
I think it's a little bit of both here on one coming down and the other coming up, because you watch. Oh, Shepard got loose.
And there's the come up.
So Shepard had gotten loose in the. So Shepard got loose in the first place. I don't think Thunhorst realized that, and at just the same time Thunhorst came up. But even if not Shepard got loose, there was a lot of contact on Thunhorst. That was enough for Shepard to loop it.
That may become a factor for things for next week for the season finale, I'm considering now. We'll talk about that and see the takes from some of the drivers right after this. You're watching the Virtual Grip Network for coverage of the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen. Welcome back once again to Irwindale for post-race coverage of the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen, a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the BRL. If it's rough, visit 2045 South Valentia Street or give them a call at 720-707-6178. Before we get to the post-race interviews, we'd like to take a quick glance, if we can, at the unofficial race results, because Austin Belkey took the victory under caution for the first time this season. Justin Moore and Matthew Thunhorst rounded out the top 3, with Gibby and Mendo rounding out the top 5 tonight. Jeffrey Harden finished in 6th, Ruben Altis, Joel Segawa rounding out the conversion spots. Top break for Tim Shanowski, just 1 point shy, or 1 spot rather shy of that mark for next week's finale. Then it's Bruce Pearson rounding out the top 10, and then it's the Ouchbane list, Marty.
Absolutely. Adam Shane 11th, Chris Wolfson 12th, Mike Holloway 13th, and the big one, J.R. Shepard 14th at the moment, Todd Liston 15th, Ryan Seneker, James Lowe, Kurt Smith out of the race in 16th through 18th, with Shepard finishing in 14th, loses 11 points in all of that, 15-point lead for Matthew Thunhorst.
A big turn in the standings after what's happened here tonight. And not the way we expected it to go down, let's put it that way. Let's take the chance to talk to third place first of all, Matthew Thunhorst. Let's get his take on what happened. Matt, what did happen? Turn 3, coming to the white.
I don't know. I tried looking at it a couple of times, and I don't know how to call it. I mean, I felt like, I kind of... Because the only way I know is that the way the banking is here, it's kind of above that white dashes, and kind of when we went in, it kind of came down a little bit there, and so I got a little bit tight center. But I mean, don't know. When I look at when we had contact, my left sides were pretty much right on that white dash, and I mean, you know, me and Justin earlier proved you could run 2 wide up there. It's just I don't know. Kind of my take is personally, I don't feel like I kind of got the room there, and I mean, it's kind of just weak words to say, oh, well, that's unfortunate or anything with how big that was, especially with the guy I'm battling the championship with. But I don't know, to be honest with you, Justin.
It does extend your gap to double-digit points now, for reference, unofficially, with that situation, by the way. But now, it puts you on the precipice of your first title if you can finish cleanly, essentially just finish top 15 possibly for next week out. How does that kind of make you feel championship wise, knowing you've been a dominant driver all season, you had to rally yourself forward, broke away in the later stages, and now, even with the circumstances, yes, are in a spot to be able to secure your first title after not being able to make the past couple finales?
I don't know. I mean, kind of my feelings right now is just kind of based on really what just happened there and waiting for what the admin's take on it is, and you know, and going from there. But I mean, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's weird for me because it's like, yeah, good points chunk, but it's, you know, the guy who you're racing also just got spun, and it was an incident me and him had together. So I don't know. I'll wait for their take and we'll go from there. But you know, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's hard to be positive or anything right now because it's, you know, it wasn't like I got third without any incident. I mean, I don't know whose blame it was on that, and we'll have to go from there, I guess. I mean, you can't take back what's done, so I don't know. We'll have to wait to see how this develops and go from there. So,
to swing it to somewhere positive, we didn't get the chance to ask you about this last week since you did not make the podium. You did have a positive since the last time we spoke. You won a second split RTP race. Is that right?
Yep. Decided to play some fuel strategy because we got a caution first lap and made the tank go an extra lap or two and was able to one-stop it. And me and the guy who we were running together had about a 5-second lead, and he ran out of gas right before the start-finish line. I ran out right after, and we had a photo finish. And it was one that it's one that I actually won for once, so it's kind of why I sat there and said the curse was ended. And then JR decided to go put another photo finish win at Martinsville in the ARCA series. So.
Absolutely. Well, you're in a position on that side. Now with that victory to make a top 70 run, you have a position unofficially for the title situation right now to battle for a title here to close out this Cars generation for this series. Who do you want to thank for your run tonight?
You know, just Lowell and BRL. You know, it's fun to race here. You know, and even at a track like this, it's kind of a driver's track, but tight racing. You know, Gargamel's Kitchen for continuing to sponsor us through, I think, most of last year and through the rest of this year. You know, you'll have Virtual Grip Network for, you know, broadcasting this and showcasing what we can do to the fans. And you know, congrats to Austin, and Justin also had a good run. So I don't know if you pulled me in before them, but it'll kind of be good to see them. You know, Austin was kind of concerned with me, and so for him to lead all 100 and get this job done tonight, that was pretty good for him. So.
Unfortunately, he only led 99. Ruben Altis did lead a lap, by the way.
Well, you know, he led the severe majority of most of it. You know, I still think that's a huge feather in his cap.
Congratulations, though, on the third spot.
Thanks, Justin.
Matthew Thunhorst finishes in third. Second spot, and hounding Austin Belkey towards the finish was Justin Morton. He's with Marty Sakala.
Justin, just to start things off here, just what more did you need to catch up to Austin? I'll ask you about the yellow in just a moment.
I think I needed 2 more turns. I feel like I probably could have done something on that last lap. That's what I was waiting for because I just didn't want to give up that outside at all. I was going to try to make a move. I kind of botched the restart. That was my first big chance to actually get around him. I just didn't get a good enough jump and stayed with him to be on his outside into 1. Kind of just went downhill from there.
Yeah, just following up there, what move were you thinking there specifically? Were you going to try and look all the way down to the bottom of the track, possibly send or go for a slide job? Just what's the mindset like? You come to 3 to go and you're planning out your move.
Yeah, I kept noticing I was getting a really good run off of turn 4 and 2. I was hoping I'd be able to get that big run and hopefully beat him to a drag race to the line. I don't know if that would have worked. It would have made for a great finish. We won't know because it didn't happen, unfortunately.
Who do you want to give shout-outs to on your run tonight?
Like to thank my team, Toll Down Force Racing, Pixel Dust for the great paint, Austin for running a heck of a race. He had Matt hounding him basically the entire time and he kept us cool. Gargamel's Kitchen for sponsoring this awesome league, Lowell for running it, and thank you guys for doing the broadcasting.
Great job tonight, Justin.
Thank you.
Justin Morton finishing second place. Justin, back to you.
First spot went the way of Austin Belkey for this evening's action, and Austin Belkey, as talked about, led all but one lap tonight, and that was just the first one before he took the lead coming into turn 1, lap 2. Austin, you're a winner once again in BRL competition. How does it feel to hold on to lead 99 of 100?
Hey Justin, yeah, it feels really good. It's been a long time coming since I won another oval race. I haven't won a single one this entire season, so it's been really nice. I've heard you guys talking about it for sure on the broadcast in the Grand National Series. For a long time, I was winning races in the earlier 2 series, and then finally last season I kind of broke through and I got 2 of them from the look at, I think, Stafford, and then the bull ring was just right place, right time. So this time we got lucky as well, but it feels really good to be in victory lane once again.
How stressful was it to try and hold on for that long, for that many laps, to make sure you didn't have any slip-ups, knowing if you did make a mistake, they were right there to knock on the door?
Oh, super stressful, especially with Matt being as good as he is. I mean, he's got 6K I rating. He's one of the best guys in the league. So, I mean, he's right up there with JR, and that's why they continue to have such tight championship battles every single season. So, super stressful. And even when Matt wasn't there because I slipped up, he got to my inside, and then Justin filled the hole. When Justin was to my, right behind me, it was still super stressful. And every single restart, I was like, this is it. The league doesn't have lane choice. So, if you're starting on the inside on a top dominant track, you're kind of hosed if you're not careful.
One more race to go on the campaign, but also one more race to go for the Grand National Series. History of this respective time slot for BRL competition should say about 2+ years since this car moved into this respective grouping as the primetime driving car after being the follow-up initially behind the touring mods at the time. Your opinions going into the final race with this car for the series before it moves over to late models, super late models specifically?
They're not great. I really like running all the Jeff Gordon paint schemes, and unfortunately there's only a single Jeff Gordon paint scheme out there for the super late model, so I've been trying to make my own, and that's been an endeavor in and of itself. But these cars are so much fun, and it's been a lot of fun racing these things. Even back when it was the 10 o'clock car, like you mentioned, being the 4th car we drove on Saturday nights, it was still a lot of fun. So I'm definitely sad to see it go, but I'm really excited for what should be, the next couple seasons here with the super late model. Those cars are a lot of fun. It's going to be rough with the dirty air, I suspect, with all the the downforce lost on the front splitter, but definitely should be a fun time here in BRL.
Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
Yeah, of course. I got to thank the good Lord, my parents, my wonderful girlfriend Jacqueline for always supporting me, Lowell for putting on the league, and Gargamel for being such a great sponsor and partner with us. JR, my team Different Path Motorsports, JR has taught me a lot. I got to thank Matt and Justin for being in the team speak with me. It's always fun to, shoot the breeze with them, and you guys for bringing our talent to the fans.
Congratulations on the victory tonight, Austin.
Thank you, buddy.
Austin Belkey finishes with the victory in the second last race of the campaign. I'd like to thank him, Justin Morton, Matthew Thunhorse for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage. And Marty, I'm going to put this in this context. Funnily enough, Irwindale is hosting their actual opener tonight, which has a finale to remember, where it was an RV trailer figure 8 schedule plus fireworks. We've seen fireworks already here tonight.
I think we've seen technically fireworks twice tonight if you add on the iRacing fireworks at the end, but man, oh man, in the words of Benny Parsons, I don't know what to say about that finish except wow.
That will be something to be discussed, keep in mind.
Yep.
It's going to be something to think about for the season finale. We'll see if it ends up being a factor in terms of the standings, and if we see a driver decide not to take the green for said finish. If we've seen that happen last season, it's going to get intriguing now for that title fight, to put it simply. On that note, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's action here at iRacing's virtual Irwindale Speedway. This series is presented by Gargamel's Kitchen, a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the Bootleg Racing League. Visit their office at 2045 South Valentia Street, or give them a call at 720-707-6178. The next time the Grand National Series is on air, it's the finale, New Smyrna Speedway, March 19th, 8:55 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to buckle up your seatbelts for the final ride for the Grand National Series before its transition to super late models. The next time VGN will be on the air will be on the Monday before then, because it's Autobahn time. It's the Autobahn Sports Car Challenge from Twin Ring Motegi, March 14th, 9:05 p.m. Eastern. But that, it's time to say goodbye. My co-announcer tonight, Amari Sikawa, for our producer and Daniel Handover, I'm Justin Prince, saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening and weekend. This has been a production of the Virtual Grip Network. Congratulations to Austin Belkey, your winner in California.